Hey guys, Thundercrown Gaming here, bringing you a guide on how to sell your runes or how to prune your runes. Anyway, so as you can see, I currently have 490 out of 500 runes. Basically, I'm going to explain what each of these runes mean in terms of your progression. I don't mean every single rune, I mean the rune type. So let's get started. So energy runes are mainly for early game. Basically for late game PvP, you won't be really using energy runes. However, you can still use them in PvE, even though I prefer pretty much endure, focus, and like even nemesis over it. For PvP, mostly you would want will runes and raid, fatal, etc. Even shield. So you wouldn't really use energy that much. So therefore the energy runes I leave all have like some potential of being like an okay rune. Like these, like none of these are extremely good, but I didn't really want to sell them because I might have used them for them in the future for broken sets. However, I don't keep many energy runes at all, and there's that. Alright, we're going to go from left to right, okay? Next up is Revenge Runes. Revenge Runes basically is the king of the sets of runes when it comes to raid. Necro, you can argue Violent is good too, but generally speaking you want Violent Revenge as well. And also for the Elemental Beasts, Revenge is also very good. So yeah, for Revenge Runes, I usually don't really want slot for defense or slot for attack, but it's like slot 4 HP is okay, slot 6 HP, slot 6 attack, slot 2 it can be speed, can be attack, can be HP. Anything is okay as long as you want the set on it. For example, my DS, where is my DS? My DS has Revenge Rune here and Revenge Rune here. So does my Panda. And Trevor. And Darian. Yeah, like basically you want revenge on something that can have a special effect on their first skill. And in all of these cases, my monsters do. Like Darian has armor break, Panda has armor break, and DS has unrecoverable, etc. You get what I mean? So when you want to sell them, you want to make sure that the rune sets are not extremely useful for you. For example, if there's speed in it, you generally want to keep it. If there's a lot of crit damage without crit rate or attack or speed, unless it's a really high roll on crit rate, you don't really want it that much, at least in my opinion. As you can see, the ones I keep aren't like extremely godly. They all have some decent potential, but I don't really think of them as really good runes. Alright, next up is Focus. Focus runes are generally speaking used for PvE purposes like giants, dragons, and that's about it. You can use them as like an offset for some like raid. You can use that for raid because Focus can increase the chance of you landing like debuffs, right? Okay, next up is Nemesis. Nemesis is usually used for burst healers or things that are comparatively slow. Like sometimes when you like for burst healers, it's quite obvious because, for example, if you want a double Lucian a Praha team, the Praha can be on double Nemesis Will, and then Lucian goes, and then before the second Lucian can go, the fast Praha can heal their team back to full. For other things, for example, Ramagos, I put my Ramagos on Vampire Nemesis. It's pretty obvious that like he's not fast enough, so we kind of use Nemesis in order to get his attack bar faster. Same with Camila. Camila doesn't drop that much health, but when you want her to have as many turns as possible. If she's not extremely fast, then what's the way to counter that? Nemesis Runes. Next up is Blade. So Blade runes are kind of a filler for early game PvP, unless you're extremely sure that you can kind of outspeed the opponent without any problems, then you can use Blade runes in late game. Otherwise, Will runes is still the best way to go because it's just a very safe choice. So Blade increases 12% crit rate for each set. It can stack, and the ones I kept are all like 6-star or something like that. My better runes are all on my monsters already, so I don't have that many great Blade runes anyway. Basically, for Blade runes, I don't really farm giants that much. That's the main reason. Next up is Swift. Swift is very self-explanatory. So you want to use it on attack bar buffer or someone that has buff, like Chloe. So my Chloe's on Swift, my Orion is on Swift, my Bernard is on Swift. Things like this, who wants to get the first turn, will be great on Swift runes. That's about it. So basically, generally speaking, unless it's an attacker rune, for supports, if you don't have speed on any of the slots, just sell that rune, because you want speed on your Swift monsters, and if it doesn't have that sub, then just throw it away. You won't need it. Next up is Rage. Rage, basically, it's a late game rune. You just only get it from Necro. It's only slightly better than Fatal, like by a really low amount. But you can use it on like defense-based nukers or HP-based nukers. For example, my Bulldozer is on Rage Will, and that's where Rage comes in because he has 212 crit damage. It hits pretty hard, but I think work on the defense a little bit more. And generally speaking, you want crit rate, crit damage, and the last slot can be anything you want, like defense for defense nukers, HP for HP nukers, attack for attack nukers, etc. Next up is Vampire. Vampire has pretty much like two pretty decent abilities, I guess. First one is it rolls monsters to farm. That's one thing. The other thing is that it's pretty decent for places where you kind of lack heals and you want your monsters to heal themselves a little bit. So Raid is one, the Elemental Beasts is one. You can kind of, like for example, Vampire Nemesis Trevor can be on front line for the Beast raids, and it works pretty well there because he's pretty fast. He gets attack for Nemesis and he can get back to full with Vampire. I'm not gonna go through the new runes because I personally speaking do not have the experience with them yet, so let's just skip to the next one. The next one is Violent. Violent is pretty much very commonly used. You want to put them in a lot of your monsters. Anything that wants turns, you want Violent. So like Veramos, Jasoon, Bella, things like that. Anything that wants a lot of turns should be on Violent. Theomars. So I keep the most out of all my runes, which is Violent, and I think Violent is very crucial in a lot of the places in the game, even though for the new Elemental Beasts it's not as good anymore, unless it's on attacker. Endure, when you're just missing that a little bit of resistance for a raid, Endure is your best set, because 20% in resistance is a lot. Like you don't, barring the other stats you gain from the set, it's 20% resistant. You only need around 70% anyway, and that's a lot already. So if you're missing a bit of resistance, think about the Endure runes. It's a very good choice. Guard runes, pretty much I only use it as filler, broken set, except things that really require defense, like Copper. Like Copper is doubled guard will because I wanted to ignore defense the opponent. So I definitely want double guard on it so that I can have a higher chance of ignoring defense and therefore doing a lot of tough damage. Will runes is very popular at the moment because of slow will shield teams. Basically, in those kind of teams, you stack as many shield runes as possible, and with those shield runes, you try to give up first turn and then still do enough damage to the enemy opponent after that first turn. You survive and then you hit back hard. That's what they do with will shield. And that brings us to will runes. Will runes is also very important. It gives your monsters one turn of immunity, and that one turn immunity can make or break a team. I often use my full will team against speed teams right now because I feel like they can survive the first turn and then just one shot the opponent after. But if you don't have will runes on, you might get armor broken or attack debuff or things like that. One thing to keep in mind is buff removal. If you go against buff removal, will runes is not as good. Okay, so destroy. I don't really like this set. I think it's okay in some cases, but mostly it's kind of useless. It's good in some guild wars, but where the opponent is like really stally, and then you can kind of use it, but that's about it. Its effect is not extremely well, let's say it's not noticeable, that noticeable, because you have to stack it up a little bit in order to notice its effect. Next up is Despair. Again, I have a low amount of Despair ruins because I don't really farm giants that much. Sorry about that. I don't farm because I don't farm giants that much. So the remaining Despair runes I don't have on my monsters are mostly like 5 stars. Yeah, lots of these are, and I can't really get another set of Despair until I farm a bit more giants. Despair is good for AoE damage dealers, AoE supports, basically generally things that have AoE. Like Tyron is good with it, Barretta is good with it, and like Uchi is good with it. Like things with like AoEs, it's always good with Despair. Unless it's Varad, who has 2 stuns in a row in the first place, and you kind of want like either Violent or something else. You don't need Despair on Varad. And the only one left is Fatal. Okay, so Fatal runes is, let's just say that it's actually still a really good set. Fatal runes increase 35% of your base attack, which is pretty decent. The more base attack you have, the more efficient this is. So for example, my tower has 911 attack, so one Fatal set will increase it by a lot more compared to if I put Fatal on, let's say, Trevor, who only has 725 attack. But Fatal is still extremely good. You can use it on Lucian. You don't have to put Rage on Lucian. Fatal is fine. You can put it on Katarina. Things that skilled attack and need some like burst in order for it to be worth it compared to Violent. For example, even if you put Theomars on Fatal, it's not going to do lethal damage to a lot of things, so you don't need to put it on Violent. You don't need to put it on Fatal. Violent is better because you have an extra chance to proc another turn to kill the said tanky monster that you wouldn't kill on Fatal anyway. And yeah, generally speaking, what runes you want to keep still depends on your stage of the game. If you are early game, you want to keep all 5-star and above runes. If you are mid game, you want to start working on the subs a little bit. Broken sets are generally fine. And if you are late game, then I don't really need to teach you all of this. You know what to do. Speed sub is important, crit rate is important, etc, etc. Yes, so that's all I have for today. Thanks guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.